It was a crisp, cold day on the rugged steppes of Mongolia. The wind howled, carrying with it the scent of dried grass and distant fires. A young boy stood alone, staring out at a world that felt both vast and hostile. His name was Temüjin, and he was no more than 9 years old, stripped of his innocence far too early by the brutality of life. Years from now, the world would know him as Genghis Khan, the man who would unite the fractured tribes of the land and forge an empire like no other. But on this day, he was just a boy, trembling under the weight of survival. His father, Yesuge, had been poisoned by rival tribes, leaving Temujin and his family ostracized and abandoned by their people. The once proud clan that looked to his father for leadership turned their backs on the widow and her children, forcing them to fend for themselves in the unforgiving landscape. Temujin felt the sting of betrayal like a blade to his heart. Starvation, vulnerability, and hopelessness shadowed his family as they scavenged for food and fought for scraps. But even in the face of despair, Temujin's mother, Hoylun, refused to surrender. Her fierce determination became the spark that ignited Temujin's resolve. She taught him not only how to survive, but also how to endure. She made him believe that his destiny was greater than his circumstances. "The wolf does not fear the storm, my son," she would tell him. "He faces it, teeth bared, unrelenting." Those words would echo in Temujin's mind for years to come, becoming the foundation of his unshakable willpower. Despite his mother's teachings, the hardships of youth shaped Temujin with cruelty. He witnessed betrayal early on when his half-brother, Bekter, attempted to hoard food and challenge Temujin's authority within the struggling family. To Temujin, this was more than a selfish act. It was a threat to the fragile unity that kept them alive. Fueled by desperation and anger, Temujin killed Bekter, a decision that haunted him but also cemented a brutal lesson. Survival often required sacrifice. As Temujin grew older, the steppes remained a place of endless conflict. Tribal alliances shifted like sand in the wind, with betrayals as common as battles. To lead meant more than brute strength. It meant commanding loyalty, understanding the intricate web of tribal politics, and wielding strategy like a weapon. Temujin learned these lessons the hard way, navigating hostile terrain where failure meant death. One of the pivotal moments in Temujin's life came during his teenage years. His bride-to-be, Berte, was kidnapped by the Merkit tribe, robbing him of both love and honor. For a young man already scarred by loss, this was an unbearable blow. Yet it was also the turning point in his journey. Temujin didn't crumble under the weight of this tragedy. He burned with a fiery determination. Gathering allies from neighboring tribes, he led a daring raid against the Merkites, rescuing Borte and restoring his honor. This victory wasn't just a personal triumph. It revealed the potential of unity and collaboration, the first flicker of his grand vision. From then on, Temujin began to see the possibilities of a united Mongolia. He looked at the fractured tribes, constantly warring and tearing each other apart, and dreamed of something greater. Why couldn't these nomadic tribes, with their fierce warriors and boundless resilience, band together under one banner? Why couldn't they stop fighting one another and instead fight for their survival against external threats? It was a vision that would take years to realize, but it began to take root in Temujin's heart. The road to unification was neither smooth nor simple. Temujin faced betrayal after betrayal, sometimes by those closest to him. Rival chieftains feared his growing influence, and some of his allies turned against him for personal gain. Temujin learned to trust carefully, valuing loyalty above all else. But he also learned to wield fear as a tool, punishing betrayal with brutal efficiency to ensure others wouldn't follow suit. Mercy was rare, but when it was given, it was strategic, calculated to win the allegiance of those who could strengthen his position. As Temujin's reputation grew, so did his army. He didn't lead with charisma alone, he led with vision. He promised his followers more than survival, he promised them purpose. Unlike the fleeting loyalties of tribal politics, his leadership offered something enduring, the chance to build a legacy that would outlive them all. Temujin rewarded loyalty generously, promoting warriors based on merit rather than birthright. This was revolutionary for the time, and it endeared him to the ambitious and the capable. Slowly but surely, tribes began to pledge themselves to his cause, not just out of fear, but out of belief in his vision. At the same time, Temüjin introduced radical reforms that strengthened his forces. He organized his warriors into units of 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000, creating a system that was disciplined, efficient, and adaptable. He enforced laws that applied to all, placing loyalty to the collective above tribal divisions. Theft, betrayal, and dishonor were punished harshly, fostering a sense of unity and order within his growing empire. These changes didn't happen overnight, but they laid the groundwork for a power structure that could rival nations. Eventually, Temujin's ambitions culminated in his declaration as Genghis Khan, the universal ruler of the Mongol tribes. Standing before thousands of warriors, he didn't bask in his triumph. He reminded them of the responsibility they now carried. "A single arrow can be broken," he said, holding one aloft, "but 10 arrows bundled together cannot. We must be those 10 arrows, unbreakable, united." Under Genghis Khan's leadership, the Mongols became an unstoppable force. His military campaigns were swift and brutal, conquering vast territories across Asia and into Europe. But it wasn't just his battle tactics that made him legendary. It was his ability to adapt and innovate. He used psychological warfare, spreading fear to weaken his enemies before even stepping onto the battlefield. He employed spies and intelligence networks, ensuring he knew his enemies' weaknesses before striking. And he welcomed foreign cultures into his empire, valuing knowledge and expertise no matter where it came from. By the end of his reign, Genghis Khan had forged one of the largest empires in human history. But his legacy wasn't just the land he conquered, it was the principles he instilled. He proved that unity could overcome division, that vision could inspire loyalty, and that resilience could transform even the harshest circumstances into triumph. Today, Genghis Khan's name evokes images of conquest and power. But the story of his rise is more than just the tale of a great conqueror. It's the story of a boy who faced betrayal, loss, and hardship, and refused to let those experiences define him. It's the story of a leader who saw beyond the chaos of his time and dreamed of something greater. And it's the story of how one man turned the fiercely independent tribes of Mongolia into a force that changed the course of history forever.